The Smart School Class 7 Science Video Lesson 4. We shall start Chapter 2, Plants and Their Systems. Our topics are plant tissues and organs, transport in plants, and leaves. We shall study from page number 14 to 19. You will require Science Fact File 2, textbook, notebook, and pencils during this lesson. Shall we start? By the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify different parts of plant and describe their structure and function. Identify plant tissues and organs and describe their characteristics. Explain the transportation of water, minerals, and food in plants through vascular bundles. Describe the external and internal structure of a leaf. In 30 seconds, you need to draw a plant on your notebook. Let's see what you come up with. Does your diagram look like this? Or maybe, can you name some of the parts of the plant that you have drawn? This looks like a flower. These are obviously leaves, and these are the roots. These are the parts of a plant which have different functions and they help the plant to survive. Plants have a similar structure. You can see the picture of the parts of a plant labeled over here. Roots hold a plant in place in the ground. They also take in water and minerals from the soil. Stems support the plant above the ground, and it holds leaves, which are the place where the photosynthesis takes place in the plant. Flowers contain the reproductive organs of the plants. There are many types of flowers, but most of them are brightly colored, as you can see over here, and they have scent which attract the insects and birds, which help the reproduction process. Buds in shoots as well as in roots are the places where the growth is taking place. Plant tissues and organs. Can you tell what is meant by a tissue? Cells that do the same job group together to make tissue. In a leaf, all the cells that undergo the process of photosynthesis make up photosynthetic tissue. They use the sunlight and do the process of photosynthesis. Since all those cells have the same job, they combine together to make photosynthetic tissue. Can you name some other plant tissues and their functions? Xylem and phloem are two other plant tissues, and their functions are that xylem tissue carries water and minerals from the roots to the leaves. On the other hand, the phloem, it takes food from the leaves and then transfers it to all the other parts of the plant. Another example of the plant tissue is protective tissue. It is present on top of the leaf and it protects the plant from damage or infection. Different tissues combine together to make an organ. All of these organs then combine to make a plant, which is an organism. What is an organism? An organism is something that is able to survive on its own. A leaf is an example of an organ. All the organs have specific jobs in the body of an organism. So what is the job of a leaf? The job of a leaf as an organ is to make food by a process called photosynthesis. Now, since a leaf is an organ, it must have been made of some tissues. Can you tell which tissues combine to form an organ that is leaf? The tissues that are present in the leaf are protective tissue, photosynthetic tissue, xylem and phloem. This is how these tissues combine to make leaf. This is the protective tissue right on the top. Then come the photosynthetic tissues. Then the xylem and phloem tissues right in the middle. Can you name some other organs of a plant? Roots are one of the organs of a plant. Their main job as an organ is to hold plant in the ground and to take in water and minerals from the soil. Why do roots grow down into the soil? Did you ever wonder why don't the roots come out like the leaves or the stem or the flowers? The reason is that the tips of roots are sensitive to gravity. And gravity is something that pulls the things downward. If you pick up your pencil and then you drop it, it will not fly up, it will go down. In the same way, roots are also affected by gravity. That is why the roots, they grow down into the soil rather than moving upwards like shoot. Can you name some other organs of a plant? Stem is one of the organs of a plant. Right at the end of the stem you can see flowers, and they are there to attract the insects for pollination. Then there are leaves that are supported by the stem. And here the leaves can get sunlight and exchange gases with the surrounding air. Flowers are also one of the organs of the plants. They contain both the male and the female reproductive parts. They are usually brightly colored, as you can see, and they have a scent so that the insects and the birds can get attracted towards them. Transport in plants. Now we have learned that roots take in water and minerals from the soil, whereas the food is prepared in leaves. But these things are required by all the parts of the plants. Therefore, water, minerals and food, they need to be transported. But how does this happen? How do all parts of plants get water, minerals and food? This is done with the help of xylem and phloem. Xylem tissue provides water and minerals, while phloem tissue provides food to all the parts of a plant. So this transport takes place with the help of xylem and phloem. Let's see a video that will help us further in order to understand the working of xylem and phloem.
All plants need water. Plant roots absorb water and minerals from the soil. Water absorption is mainly carried out by root hairs. These narrow-walled hairs greatly increase the area over which water absorption can take place. Water and minerals. Xylem vessels are long, narrow, hollow tubes containing no living material. The xylem transports water and soluble mineral nutrients from the roots to other parts of a plant. About 95% of the water absorbed is lost through the stomata present in the leaves. This process is known as transpiration. The number of stomata is more on the lower surface of leaves. If transpiration happens throughout the day, then there will be a great loss of water. This is controlled by the stomatal opening and closing mechanism. During the daytime, water enters into the guard cells along with the potassium ions. This brings about a change in the shape of the guard cells and the stoma opens. During the night, the potassium ions and water molecules leave the guard cells. Thus, the turgidity decreases and the stoma closes. Stomata also act as main sites of gaseous exchange in plants. Leaves make use of water and the carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Glucose formed during photosynthesis is transported to the other parts of the body through phloem cells. Phloem tissue consists of less specialized and nucleate parenchyma cells, sieve tube cells, and companion cells. Transport of food in phloem can be up or down the stem to reach all parts of the plant. Hence, the transportation in plants is the function of xylem and phloem cells.
A quick quiz based on what we have learned so far in this lesson. How are xylem and phloem tissue the same, and how are they different? The similarities are that both xylem and phloem are a part of vascular bundles, and they are both shaped like a tube. The differences are that xylem conducts water and minerals, while phloem conducts food. Another difference is that water and minerals move only upward in xylem. In phloem, food particles move up as well as down. Another question is that the word xylem comes from a Greek word called xylon, which means bark, root, wood, or leaf. The correct answer is wood. Why do leaves get the name food factories? As we have studied earlier in this lesson, that leaves prepare food for the whole plant. That is why they are called food factories. Here is a picture that shows the outer parts of a leaf. This is leaf stalk by which the leaf gets connected with the stem. This is the midrib, the central line passing through the leaf. These are the veins, and this part is called as lamina. Now that we have established that leaves are the parts of plants which are able to absorb lots of light as well as are responsible for the exchange of gases. But why is that? What special feature of the leaves make them able to absorb light as well as exchange gases? The reason is that the leaves are broad, flat, and thin. Like this banana leaf, which is broad and flat and is able to absorb lots of sunlight. These grass leaves are so thin that the exchange of gases is quite easy as compared to the other parts of the plant. Also, the leaves have tiny holes in them, especially on the back end of the leaf. Due to these reasons, the leaves are able to absorb light and exchange gases. Leaves have veins in them, but what is the function of those veins? Veins, as shown in this picture, are made of vascular bundles that are xylem and phloem. That means the xylem, which provides water for photosynthesis, and phloem that carries away the food that is made in the leaves, all of this would not have been possible without veins. Veins also provide support to the leaf. Now we shall see an animation that will show us the internal structure of a leaf. Now that we have seen the animation of what is going inside a leaf, we can easily identify three different types of tissues that make up a leaf. The first one is a thick waxy cuticle. This is a waterproof layer that does not allow water to damage the insides of a leaf. Then come the chloroplast containing chlorophyll. These are the cells which contain chloroplasts and they absorb light needed for photosynthesis. All the photosynthesis happens in these cells. Then comes xylem and phloem. They transport water and food in and out of the leaf. A stoma is a tiny hole or an opening that is often present on the underside of a leaf. Here you can see this opening which is called as stoma. If we are referring to more than one stoma, we call them stomata. How many guard cells do you see around each stoma? There are two guard cells around each stoma. As you can see, this is the first guard cell and this is the second guard cell and this is the opening which is called stoma. A quick quiz based on what we have studied so far. Which part of a leaf is a waterproof layer? Is it the cuticle or the stomata or the veins or is it the chloroplast? The correct answer is cuticle is a part of a leaf which is a waterproof layer. What are the two things that both the roots and the stems have? Is it the root hair and root cap, or the xylem and root hair, or bark and root cap, or xylem and phloem? The correct answer is xylem and phloem are two things that both the roots and stems have. Now we shall summarize what we have studied in this lesson. Plants have roots, stem, leaves, flowers, and buds. Each part has its own function. Cells in plants combine to form tissues. For example, photosynthetic tissue, protective tissue, xylem, and phloem. Xylem carries water and minerals, and phloem carries food. Together, they are called vascular bundles. Leaves have a defined structure for exchange of gases and absorption of light that helps them prepare food by photosynthesis. Your first home task is to read pages 14 to 19 of the textbook. Then you have to attempt test yourself questions given on page 15, 16, 17 and 19 of the textbook on your notebooks. These are the questions given on these 4 pages that you have to attempt. Then you are to attempt exercise question 3 given on page 29 of the textbook on your notebooks. Finally, you are to attempt exercise question 4, this one, given on page 29 of the textbook within the space provided on the textbook right here. Good luck.